Number 12, Oklahoma. Playoff chances on the line. Are facing off against the Alabama Crimson Tide, number 4 team in the country, 2:30 Central Time. This is a very similar spot to what we were talking about with Texas and Georgia. A team that is in a make or break spot in their season. You could argue if they go 9-3 with how they finish their year, they could make it to a college football playoff chance. But this is definitely a must win for them, or at least keep it close. Both Texas and Oklahoma struggle on the offensive side of the ball, has had some quarterback issues for different reasons, obviously, and their defenses are incredible. Both have to go on the road into a hostile environment. Alabama, Georgia. This is a very unique spot. So what do we think? What did I write down? Well, number one, I said, what team needs it? Oklahoma. It'd be nice to have for Alabama. Oklahoma's secondary versus Alabama's passing attack is the key to the game. We've seen two very different performances from the Oklahoma secondary. You have the Ole Miss game, to which you saw a break in the armor. You saw a little opening that a talented play caller and quarterback in Trinidad Chambliss, and you have Lane Kiffin. They were able to exploit some areas within the secondary for Oklahoma. Then they have to go on the road. They play Josh Heupel, a really talented play caller, versus a guy in Joey Aguilar who can't create with his legs as much, more similar to the archetype of a Ty Simpson, but Ty Simpson's much better in not putting the ball in harm's way. So you get a unique dynamic of, yeah, you're not going to have to worry about the scramble ability, but you're also not going to have the gimmies that Joey Aguilar was giving you during that road test against Tennessee. And because the reason why I focus on this is you're not going to have the problem of worrying about a rushing attack, whereas Tennessee, they want to run the ball. They want to, force you to make a decision between Chris Brazzell and Mike Matthews on the outside, or do you want to stack the box and try to stop the run? That's why Dylan Sampson ran for 30-plus touchdowns last year. They want to run the ball. You have Ole Miss, who's a very dynamic RPO-heavy offense. You're going to have an Alabama offense. It's just not going to run the ball. They're not going to do it. Yeah, you're probably going to be able to stop them. They're going to get to a point where they may not even try it unless they're up by a ton. Although I do believe they should be leaning more heavily into a guy like Daniel Hill, who I think is a very talented running back. I want to throw some stats out there for you. Oklahoma, number 8 in third down defense, 26 in explosive play defense. Alabama, 18th in third down offense. And I believe they were one of the top explosive play teams in the entire country. I didn't write that one down. That's on me. Put my hand up. That's on me. But I wanted to double click into the third down because I think that is going to be the key thing that is going to give Oklahoma as many opportunities. I think Oklahoma needs to spread this game out. They cannot have this be a fight in a phone booth. They can't have this be a limited possession where John Mateer's not touching the football as many times as possible because their offense is not as efficient. Very similar to Alabama, they are not going to be a team that runs the ball that effectively unless you get the John Mateer legs game, which I wrote down as my next thing. You need the John Mateer legs game. This is where you do not shave off any type of, restrictions to the rushing attack. You need a very similar performance to what we saw with Michigan, where he is just running up the middle for 20 carries. I mean, this is going to be the game where you're going to need to create something on the ground. And I think if you're able to get Alabama off the field, you're going to give John Mateer and this offense as many opportunities as possible because you can run the ball in this Alabama team. But if you're in 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, their pass rush has seen some progression over the past couple of weeks. And we saw them find some success against an LSU offensive line that has been bad all year. Guess whose offensive line hasn't been great all year? Oklahoma's. This is the game you need to create something. If it's Barnes, if I'm remembering correct, Robinson, you need something in this rushing attack. And I think John Mateer's the guy because when you're in this make or break point into your season where you need this game to happen, you got to create something. You got to throw the kitchen sink. And I think this is where you go to Ben Arbuckle. You go to John Mateer. You say, listen, this is the most healthy you're going to be. And we need this game because it's not just we might get in if we're 9-3. Our fate is not in our hands at that point if we were to lose this game. And they're not thinking about this. They're just thinking about how they can beat Alabama. But if we're looking at the broader picture, it's not just we might be 9-3. We could find a way in. we will also potentially be fighting against a 9-3 Texas team that beat us, and they're going to take precedence over us. So if we can find a way to be 10-2, then we can start having those conversations. Alabama continues to skate by. They felt like a team that could have beat LSU 38-10. It was only 20-9. And there was a couple of moments where these explosive pass plays were right there. I think that this Oklahoma secondary is going to make or break this team, plus as well as the rushing attack for Oklahoma. It's a tough spot. I picked Texas because they needed it. This is a team that needs this win. Oklahoma needs this win. But do I believe Oklahoma has enough tank left in there? I think Oklahoma, this is a tough matchup, man. This is an Alabama team that is going to be running into a quarterback. I just think of the archetypes as found success against this Oklahoma defense, and they're going to be at home because Trinidad Chambliss went on the road and found success, and he was able to create a little bit with his legs. And I think Ty Simpson can create a little bit with his legs. It's not something that is the trademark Ty Simpson play style. What is trademark to him is a guy that's not going to make mistakes. Even though I've always said this, Brent Venables makes seniors look like true freshmen, I don't think this is the game that we see Ty Simpson put the ball in harm's way. I think a team like Texas A&M, I think a team like Georgia, in even a rematch, would be a very difficult matchup for Alabama. I think there's parts of this Oklahoma team that play to Alabama's strengths. And unless you get a one-night special, this is John Mateer playing his best ball. We get a Deion Burks breakout. Isaiah Centennia takes a 75-yarder to the house and creates some explosives. I understand that, but I think if this becomes a game where you're going to need Ty Simpson to be methodical and not create a ton of 20-plus yard plays, but a lot of 15, 5, 10, 7, 8, those types of plays, that plays into his strengths and it plays into Ryan Grubb and how he can create this offense. Very similar to what we saw for Georgia. And that's where we go back to the point of, can Oklahoma get them off the field? And I don't know if they can. I'm going to pick Alabama to win. I got to pick an upset between these two teams. So I'm going to pick Alabama to win. I don't think that they cover. I think this is going to be a one-score game. And I think we're going to be looking at Oklahoma in 2026 as a big-time team that could be a not only college football playoff contender, but national champion.